So we got another question this week, and it was this one. What does the Bible mean when it says don't be unequally yoked together? Well, for those of you who are unfamiliar with that passage of scripture, it's coming out of 2 Corinthians chapter 6, where the Apostle Paul writes, chapter 6, verse 14, 2 Corinthians, do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. For what partnership has righteousness with lawlessness? Or what fellowship has light with darkness? What accord has Christ with Belial? Or what portion does a believer share with an unbeliever? What agreement has the temple of God with idols? Now, why is Paul talking about this? Well, his second letter to the Corinthians is, Paul talks about a lot of details, but one of the emphases that he has here in these first 6, 7 chapters is about the new creation and the ministry that he's given as an apostle to be an ambassador for Christ of that new creation, and how he is out with his team calling people to be participants in that new creation, to be, born by the Spirit, to be washed and renewed, to join that in baptism. And then he gets into some of the issues that they're dealing with in Corinth, obviously. And so we come to these verses where he says, don't be unequally yoked with unbelievers. Well, first off, what's a yoke? A yoke is that wooden, usually, bar that would go across two oxen or horses or some kind of animal, that is plowing a field. And if you have one of the animals that's stronger and one of them that's weaker, well, then you could say that it's unequally yoked, because then the animals can't go together well. They can't clear and plow properly. The principle of not being unequally yoked is typically applied in a lot of church circles, one, to relationships for marriage or dating, and another is for business. Don't go into business with somebody who's not a Christian. Well, we have to be careful that we don't take Paul's injunction here and make it a law for things he's not talking about. There are times, and it's very well for us to be aware of this, that we have to be very aware of who it is that we, if we're single and we're looking for someone, that we want to marry, to have a share our lives with, is the person a Christian? Well, that's not the only question about yoking, though. Like, yoking doesn't mean, well, they're a Christian and I'm a Christian. It also means, what's your outlook on life? What are your joys? What are your fears? How do you spend your money? What is your belief about particularities in Christian denominations? All of that factors into yoked. What is it to be yoked together? In business, does the person that you're going into business with share your sensibilities about investments? Or do you think that you can invest in certain ways and the other person thinks you can invest in another way? So whether they're a Christian or they're an atheist and then we can take this principle of don't be unequally yoked and we can apply it to lots of other things, because you put this command from Paul in conjunction with the Old Testament, where it says, can two walk together unless they be agreed? Can two walk together unless they be agreed? So when you're talking about what is it to be unequally yoked, it's really at its base to be in any kind of relationship that's so lopsided that if you are entering into something together that requires the effort of both of you, and one of you is unable to maintain the common yoke you're sharing, that relationship is probably going to end up broken and battered, and the stronger person will be worse for the wear than the weaker. That's what Paul's warning against. And if we can take that principle and then apply it to every situation that it can apply to, that will give us pause and really good things to pray on and get counsel about.